The Zenith Arms Galactic Combat Expo erupted under a dome so colossal it seemed to mock the stars themselves. A trillion pinpricks of light, holographic banners in 100 alien scripts danced across its surface, proclaiming the universe's fiercest aerial combat showcase. The arena, carved from asteroid basalt and reinforced with gravitic fields, sprawled wide enough to cradle a small planet. Its stands heaved with life, tentacled Skarath diplomats waving bioluminescent limbs, carapaced Brannock generals clanking armoured fists, and Zithari spectres, their cloaked forms flickering like mirages. The air buzzed with static, thick with the tang of ozone, alien musk, and the faint burn of ionized plasma. The humans had been invited out of courtesy more than curiosity, new to the galactic stage, with little expected of them beyond polite participation. At the arena's core, a floating platform glowed, its anti-grav hum a soft counterpoint to the crowd's roar. Two hosts commanded it, Sylvari, with translucent wings that shimmered like oil on water, and Kravos, a Brannock whose molten orange eyes gleamed beneath a jagged brow. Sylvara's voice, clear as a bell, cut through the din. "Starkin, welcome to the 47th Zenith Arms Galactic Combat Expo. I'm Sylvara, your guide to the skies, where the galaxy's mightiest unveil their technological supremacy." Kravos's basso rumble followed, shaking the platform. "And I'm Kravos. Today we witnessed not war but wonder. Art, not annihilation. The deadliest dance of the skies." The crowd exploded. Claws clacked, tentacles writhed, and a Skarath's sonic screech rattled the arena's dome, sending a shiver through the stands. Sylvara's wings fluttered, catching the light. "First, the Valari Skyblades." A hush fell as 12 ships glided from the arena's shadowed rim. Their hulls, liquid silver, pulsed with bioluminescent veins. Inertia nullifiers let them drift like jellyfish, defying gravity's pull. They wove a ballet of impossible arcs, trailing faint auroras that painted the air in hues no alien eye could fully name. One skyblade spun vertically, then froze mid-air, its nose aimed at the dome's apex. The crowd gasped, then roared approval, their cheers a tidal wave. A Valari tech aesthete stood beside Sylvara, a specialist clad in robes that shimmered like her wings. She gestured elegantly toward the formation. Each skyblade is grown, not built, around a crystalline AI core. The pilot dances with the craft. No controls needed. Pure symbiosis. Kravos bared his tusks. "Poetry in motion, Sylvara. Those nullifiers make him untouchable. Who dares follow that?" "The Brannock juggernauts," Sylvara sang, her voice rising. The arena quaked as 3 warships lumbered into view, each the size of a multi-story building. Their obsidian hulls drank the light, shielded by matrices that hummed with violet energy. AI-guided turrets swiveled, locking onto a target drone hovering a kilometre out. The Juggernaut's gravity-warping drives kicked in, bending space until the drone seemed to stretch, then implode. A salvo of plasma bolts followed, turning the wreckage to molten rain. The stands shook with stomping feet and guttural roars. A Brannock war engineer towered beside Kravos, his voice like grinding stone. Each hull is a reinforced neutron steel composite, built to shrug off plasma bursts and kinetic strikes. Shielding rated for deep space combat. Weapons calibrated to vaporize armored frigates. This is battlefield supremacy distilled. "Unstoppable," Kravos bellowed, pounding a fist into his palm. "That's Brannock might, forged in the crucible of war." Sylvara tilted her head, her eyes glinting, and now the Zithari spectres. Silence gripped the arena. Then, like ghosts born from nothing, a squadron of needle-thin fighters shimmered into view. Their stealth fields made them near invisible, phasing in and out as they sliced through a laser-grid obstacle course. Beams crisscrossed the air, deadly and precise, but not one touched the spectres. They vanished mid-flight, reappearing to fire pinpoint volleys that shredded a second drone. The crowd's roar was a physical force, rattling the dome. A cloaked Zithari tactician appeared on the platform, whispering in soft hisses. "The Spectre is less aircraft, more illusion. Controlled by thought, guided by silence, built to strike and vanish before an enemy even knows it's there." The exhibition carried on in dazzling waves. Sleek warforms from across the spiral arms soared across the arena. Alien fighters cloaked in plasma shimmer, ships folded with living alloys, others steered by hive minds or harmonic resonance displays. Each demonstration drew cheers or gasps, a parade of innovation and terror made manifest in metal, flame, and quantum light. Sylvara's voice softened, a touch theatrical. A display etched in the stars. We'll pause for intermission before the final entrant. The arena hummed with chatter. In the VIP section, a velvet-draped platform ringed by force fields, pilots and generals lounged on levitating divans, sipping drinks that glowed like nebulae. A Valari commander, her wings folded with smug precision, leaned toward a Zithari pilot, her voice dripping disdain. "Did you hear about the humans? They sent a jet, a single one." The Zithari's mandibles clicked, a dry laugh. A fossil, probably fueled by burning plants. "What's next? A sling and stone?" Laughter erupted. A Brannock officer, his armor etched with battle scars, slammed a clawed hand on the table, rattling crystal flutes. "I'll bet my plasma pistol that clunker fails to meet even the Expo's lowest standard. A metal brick like that? It's an insult to the Expo." "Fossil tech," a Valari engineer sneered, swirling her drink. They must have misread the invite. This is combat, not a history exhibit. A Skarath diplomat, its tentacles coiling thoughtfully, hissed, "Perhaps they're mocking us. A jest, yes? No species could be so backward." The Zithari pilot leaned back, mandibles twitching. "Backward? They're barely spacefaring. I heard their homeworld still has unfiltered air. Savages." More laughter, sharp and cruel, spread through the section. Below in the stands, spectators traded similar barbs, their translators buzzing with terms like archaic and relic. But among them, seated with calculated stillness, was a Zendari observer. He said nothing. His 6 eyes blinked slowly, unreadable, not out of arrogance, but memory. He had seen human firepower once. He didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. He simply watched and waited. Back on the platform, Kravos leaned into his mic, tone thick with amusement. "Starkin, brace yourselves for something unique. From the Sol system, a species new to the Expo, the humans." A single craft rolled onto the runway, towed by a clanking grav sled that looked embarrassed to be there. The vehicle was angular, matte black, its surface scarred with carbon scoring and faint weld lines. No glowing anti-grav pads, no phasing fields, just sharp edges, a cockpit of clear glass and a faded word stenciled on its flank. Vanguard. It looked like a knife forged from defiance, unapologetic and raw. The crowd stilled, then exploded in laughter. A Skarath waved a tentacle, screeching, "Is this a prank?" A Zithari hissed, "They brought a child's toy." The Valari commander smirked. "If it even moves. Look at it. No gravitics, no shields. It's a coffin with wings." Captain Ray Delgado stepped from the cockpit, her boots scuffing the runway. Her flight suit, immaculate, hugged a frame honed by years of high-G training. Her dark hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her brown eyes swept the stands with quiet intensity. The mockery hit her like a wave, jeers, hisses, the clatter of alien laughter, but she didn't flinch. She'd faced worse than a crowd. Pirate raids, atmospheric dogfights, the void itself. This was just noise. Silvara's voice wavered, straining for professionalism. "The Terran Confederation has submitted what they describe as a jet fighter, operating on combustion, wings and lift." Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. "But to help us understand what exactly we're about to witness," Silvara continued, "joining us here at the commentary tier is a human representative, Lieutenant Marcus Thorne, aerospace specialist and advisor to the Terran Confederation." The camera orb focused on a composed human man seated beside them. Clad in a dark blue flight jacket with subtle insignia, Lieutenant Marcus Thorne nodded to the camera, calm, unreadable, his eyes watching the runway below. "Lieutenant," Silvara said smoothly, "would you care to enlighten us on this machine?" Thorne responded without flinching. "You're about to see the F-77 Vanguard, 12th generation air superiority fighter, orbital capable, twin-vector thrust engines. She breaks Mach 12 before you finish blinking. In vacuum, she outruns her own radar shadow. Manual controls. Designed for the kind of combat where instinct matters more than automation, assisted by a flight suit that rewrites how biology handles G-force." Kravos raised a ridged brow. "Manual? You fly it with your hands?" "That's right," Thorne said, cool as steel. "Hands, reflexes and resolve. No neural link assist. No AI intervention." Silvara gave a diplomatic tilt of her head. "Quite a bold design philosophy." "It's not about boldness," Thorne replied, eyes fixed on the hangar door as something stirred behind it. "It's about knowing that when everything else fails, a human pilot doesn't." A long silence followed, broken only by Kravos's low grunt. His tone was casual, almost affable, but edged with skepticism. "You sure that fossil doesn't run on prayers?" At once the crowd erupted, laughter rolling through the arena like a thunderclap. Tentacles waved wildly, claws slapped tables, and a chorus of amused roars filled the air, drowning out all other sounds for a moment. The sheer volume and unexpected humour sent ripples of mirth cascading across the stands, every species sharing in the unexpected joke. Thorne, unfazed by the jest, simply smirked and replied, "Nah, it runs on instinct and a promise of violence." Kravos's grin faltered, and in the crowd the laughter softened to impressed murmurs, and all eyes turned back to the runway, waiting for the human's next move. Ray climbed back into the Vanguard, sealing the canopy with a hiss. The cockpit was a relic by galactic standards, analog and digital dials, flickering screens, and a stick that felt alive in her hands. She ran her systems check, voice low and steady. Engines green, hydraulics nominal, weapons locked for now. Her fingers lingered on the throttle, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Let's shut them up. She flipped a switch, and the Vanguard's engines growled, a deep, guttural snarl that echoed across the arena like thunder. The crowd's laughter ceased. Dust swirled around the jet, kicked up by the exhaust. Ray throttled up, and the growl became a howl, raw and mechanical, shaking the stands. Aliens shifted in their seats, their bioluminescence dimming, their mandibles stilling. Something primal stirred in their cores, an instinct older than their tech, older than their empires. Predator. Silvara's wings froze mid-flutter, her crystalline voice trembling with awe. I have never heard anything like it before. Kravos leaned forward, his amusement fading to curiosity. That's no mere machine. Let's see what this human dares to unleash. In the VIP section, the Brannock officer gripped his sidearm, muttering, "It's a bluff." "No way, that thing." Ray slammed the throttle. The Vanguard growled in reply. It didn't take off, it launched. With a scream that split the sky and rattled the reinforced view glass, it tilted up at a 60-degree angle and shot into the clouds like it had just been fired from a planetary defense cannon. The air rippled. Flames burst from its tail, kicking dust across the observation decks. The crowd gasped. A sonic boom cracked seconds later. The crowd's jeers died instantly, swallowed by the roar and replaced with wide-eyed silence. "There's no way," muttered the Valari tech. "That wasn't a takeoff. That was a railgun shot. The pilot should be dead from the acceleration alone." The mocking sky loomed, vast and unforgiving, but Ray Delgado was no stranger to its challenge. She was human, and humans didn't just fly, they hunted. The aliens watching hadn't even finished laughing. Now they simply stared. Above them, high in the thinning atmosphere, the Vanguard didn't level out. Instead, it curled into a spiraling climb, then performed an impossible snap turn. The maneuver came like a slap to collective understanding. The entire craft folded backward like a slingshot, a Pugachev's Cobra at hypersonic speed. Even the laws of physics looked offended. Gasps echoed across the arena. The maneuver was supposed to be borderline suicidal at best speeds. Ray had just done it at Mach 5. "What? That's aerodynamically suicidal," someone shouted. "It should rip apart." It didn't. Next, the jet performed a controlled zero-G stall, floating momentarily like a feather in high wind, then spun in place, flat and smooth, before recovering into a high-speed dive. It was not flying. It was dancing. Half the audience didn't understand what they were seeing. The other half was too stunned to speak. Target drones rose from the perimeter. The Vanguard didn't swerve. Ray angled the nose, and the M61 Vulcan cannon, an old Earth relic, still relevant, still terrifying, spun to life. It fired a searing burst, unleashing a hail of tungsten-jacketed Veltrium slugs, a hyperdense alloy refined for kinetic integrity at hypersonic impact. The drones vaporized in mid-air. The last one, armored with the same composite alloy as the Brannock Juggernaut, survived a moment longer, then shredded under the hail of kinetic fire. The shredded wreckage hadn't even finished falling when Kravos leaned toward his mic, voice dripping with disbelief and something that might have been awe. "Precision at Mach speeds. That's not targeting. That's muscle memory. Let's just say those guns speak fluent brute persuasion." The Brannock delegation jaw dropped, staring, eyes wide in disbelief. Their prized alloy, shredded like paper. One officer muttered, "That shouldn't be possible." Another checked his display. "Our AI flagged the hit as probability 0. No one answered. They were too stunned to speak. Above them, the human fighter tilted again, already moving on to its next impossible feat. Still climbing and twisting, the jet banked sideways at Mach 3, a movement so sharp the air cracked in protest. No afterburner roar, just controlled surfaces carving the stratosphere like razors. Then came the impossible part. Ray drifted the jet sideways, using atmospheric drag and high-altitude turbulence like a brushstroke. With just a twitch of her hand, the Vanguard slid laterally across the sky like a starfighter in zero-G. It made no sense. It defied logic. It defied flight. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Below, alien sensors screamed. Algorithms crashed. Tracking software flickered in and out of functionality. Several displays around the stadium blinked red. One system, belonging to a Volari AI module, spat out a warning. Trajectory pattern illogical. Maneuver profile suicidal. Pilot risk threshold unacceptable. Suggested counter-response, retreat. A Zarnathi tactician leaned forward, mouth ajar. Did it just mock our tracking system? No, replied his adjutant. I think it just broke it. In the Zithari delegation box, tacticians clustered around a silent hollow screen. Lines of alien code streamed by as they ran predictive combat simulations. One Spectre versus the Vanguard. But the Vanguard didn't follow rules. It broke them. The Zithari AI searched for patterns, found only chaos, and spiraled into an infinite loop of non-answers. After 11 simulations, the results were identical. Stay hidden. The lead tactician's mandibles tightened. The Spectre calculates moves, but this thing, it invents them. Kravos, watching from the commentator booth, exhaled slowly. Even illusions need rules, he said quietly. This one doesn't. Nearby, the Skarath diplomat's tentacles had ceased their arrogant coil. One twitched involuntarily. That cannot be manual. No sentient is that mad. There was silence, again, as the human fighter rolled into its next impossible maneuver. The simulated combat gauntlet activated, turrets tracking, lasers and plasma arcs snapping to life. The Vanguard screamed downward like a thunderbolt hurled from a forgotten god. Ray didn't evade like a programmed AI or a cautious soldier. She danced through the onslaught. Energy beams grazed the wings. Defensive turrets spun too slow to lock on. Not a single hit. The Vanguard twisted, rolled, inverted, and slid between kill zones like it had premonitions. One mine detonated just behind the right wingtip, close enough to scorch the paint, but not even nick the control surfaces. Inside the control booth, a Kalari technician looked up from the radar. She's dodging them manually. No predictive algorithm? The supervisor asked. Someone replied, none. Pure muscle control. Kravos's voice rumbled through the speakers, low and impressed. I would not want to be caught in a dogfight with this one. A final beam surged from the last defense tower. Ray inverted the jet, spiraled sideways, then pulled the nose up. Hard. The Vanguard stopped. Dead still, inches from the transparent wall of the viewing booth. Everyone inside flinched. A few dignitaries fell out of their seats. Ray gave a casual salute from the cockpit before banking off and disappearing into the clouds. Silvara exhaled sharply, half laughing. Did she just cheat physics and buzz the booth close enough to rearrange our seating chart? In the silence that followed, Thorne stepped forward. His expression was unreadable, but his voice carried to every corner of the arena. We don't cheat physics, he said flatly. We bully it until it listens. He let the words settle like thunder. What began as mockery, a collective jeer at an outdated species daring to fly a relic, a pitiful display of presumed technological inferiority, ended in quiet recalibration. The laughter died in alien throats, replaced by a stunned silence that spoke volumes. Arrogant assumptions shattered like brittle crystal, the echoes of disbelief hanging heavy in the air. The galaxy, in its vastness and technological superiority, had just witnessed its new Top Gun, not in a sleek, energy-based marvel, but in a raw, thunderous machine forged from the crucible of human ingenuity and an unyielding spirit.